Oh no, I've lost power in the middle of my 38-hour-long carve. What will I do? Well, the process to fix that is dead stupid simple. Now, you might have actually seen that I made a mistake there, and I'll get into that in a second because being a beta tester is fun, but it's also kind of annoying. Let's get back to actually how to save your carve. Now, restore power to your CNC machine. In my case, I've just got a power strip plugged into the wall. You go over, you press the one power button for the Onefinity CNC machine to boot up. Now, boot up is incredibly fast. Then you hit your e-stop. That you're going to have to do that every single time you turn on the machine. Then you're going to re-home your machine. I've sped up the actual homing sequence on mine. Don't worry, I'll show you how to do that in a little while. I'm going to void all y'all's warranties. Once you've homed the machine, you can load up your file again, reload the file, it's all going to propagate, and then you can go into the file. You're going to press Start from Line because it knows exactly where it stopped off at. Just to show y'all that I can, I'm actually going to go back a few lines before that. I'm going to edit it a little bit, and then I'm going to press Run. Once you press Run, it's going to ask you just to verify the X, Y, and Z movements as it's going, and then it's just going to start and finish the carve as if nothing even happened. That is, if anything else, the feature why I would buy this machine. If you've been around the channel at all, you know that I have the X50 Journeyman, and I've been using that thing like crazy. I use it all the time. It is kind of the daily driver here in the wood shop, and I absolutely love it. This machine was sent to me to beta test for free. So if that completely destroys your opinion of my unbiased review on that, I completely understand and respect that. Please like the video on your way out. It helps a whole lot. You're going to see this machine go randomly, very quickly back and forth because it is currently on right now. It is running a program. It is going 5 inches per minute. And the water-cooled spindle is going at 50 RPM. I painted one of the sides of the collet just so you can see it turning, but I figured that it would be fun to show the machine actually moving around as well as how much I edit my videos. So you're going to see this thing move back and forth a whole lot. That's why. So let's just go ahead and talk about pricing first, because I think that's what a lot of people are very interested in. Now, the CNC machine itself is a little bit under $4,200. The fixed stand that we're on, which I'll talk about, is a little bit under $600, and then the spindle is a little bit under $1,000. Some other random things that I have in there around $100. All in all, before tax, it's a little bit under $5,800. Now with tax, you're looking between $6,000 and $6,500. I think that that's a very fair number to look at. I asked people on the Facebook Onefinity forum how much they ended up spending on their specific Elite Foreman setups, and I got an answer anywhere between $5,200 to $7,500. If you have no idea what you're getting into and you're thinking how much is this machine really to get up and cutting, anywhere from $5,200 to $7,500, depending on if you're using a spindle versus a router versus the type of dust collection that you have set up. I don't have dust collection set up on this one, which is 100% needed. I'll have a video on that coming up. How difficult is this thing to set up? It's dead stupid simple. Honestly, I don't think that anybody can really mess up this process, but an hour to 4 hours. I have set this thing up twice. This exact machine was at WorkbenchCon, which is why it is covered in stickers, and the setup there was extremely fast because I had Onefinity support actually setting the machine up, which was awesome, and then getting it back to my shop and then setting it back up by myself did take a little while, and that was really because I was just paying attention to setting up the actual wasteboard and figuring out all that. The stand with the integrated wasteboard features, screwing that in from the bottom, it's a lot of screws, it just takes a long time. The actual machine, I had it set up when they first sent to me on the ground running, just seeing how it worked in less than 30 minutes. The tools that you'll definitely need some Allen keys, they don't come with it, and you will need Velcro ties. Zip ties, they're perfectly fine, but you're going to be repositioning things a whole lot, especially when it comes to cable management below. The little spider web of cables that they give you is really nice. Everything's very well labeled, but if you really want to do some good cable management, I've got some screws going in underneath my wasteboard, and I've just kind of like zip tied some things under there to make them look a whole lot better. And then the water cooling system, if you do not have zip ties or these Velcro zip ties, you're going to have a really bad time. I'll get into that in a second. Actually, let's get into that right now. Okay, so PWN CNC, this is where I got this. This is a plug and play spindle for the Onefinity machine. This one is plug and play with the Masso. So this is their 2.2 kilowatt, which is a 3 horsepower equivalent. and it is water cooled. I just have RV antifreeze down there, pumping through this through a 5-gallon bucket, which Two Moose Designs thinks is not slick enough, but I think it's fine. These silicone tubes, which I will have linked down below, I'm assuming after seeing this review, PW and CNC will sell the silicone tubes because the clear tubes that came with it were just way too rigid. I personally broke a lot of links off of the drag chain because of that, so I switched them out immediately, and these silicone ones are awesome. Can't say enough good things about them, but really taking your time if you have a water-cooled spindle and like moving the machine back and forth, repositioning your zip ties, like that's going to take a little while. It took me like a good 30 minutes to really understand where the zip ties needed to be. And if it were a simple answer, I'd tell you like, hey, do it this many links. It's not. I've moved them around so many times, and I finally got it to a place where I'm no longer worried about it going at the very end and like, I don't know, one of these tubes falling over the edge and like getting snagged and breaking. Like I'm not worried about that anymore, but I was for quite some time. The reason specifically that I got the water cooled one is not really because of the sound, because once I have a dust collector hooked up to this, the sound isn't going to matter at all. It's more along the lines of this water cooled spindle. The water cooling specifically is going to be needed when I hook up an ATC to this machine. This spindle is not ATC compatible, but an ATC compatible spindle is going to need to be water cooled. So I wanted to go ahead and run the lines and understand what that really looked like and just have one for a while. But eventually somebody's going to figure out the ATC for this machine. And when I say that eventually, probably somebody this year, a whole lot smarter than me, is going to post how to do it on the forums. When they do, I will then set that up and put that at the back of this machine so that the ATC or automatic tool changer, it can operate on this machine. The Masso controller is completely set up for it. It is ready to assign the location of where those things are, but the spindle is not capable of that yet. I'm assuming that PW and CNC will be coming out with one this year because I don't know what the what the holdup is going to be. I'm not smart enough to figure that out and how it works, but I'm sure somebody out there right now is furiously working to figure it out just to be the first one to hook it up with Onefinity. For a plug-and-play version. There are some people out there who have already done it, and they got swamped with emails the second that they announced the Masso version of this machine, including me. I emailed them too, but there's not a plug-and-play version for the simple folk like me out there as of yet. If you think, should I get water-cooled or air-cooled, get air-cooled, 100%. Water-cool's nice, it is, because chips aren't flying around because it's not pushing air down at the chips. It's actually like cutting and the chips are just staying there, which was kind of like a weird moment for me the first time that I saw it. But it's not so nice that I would have had to deal with the headache of running these lines. Like I said, if you get the silicone, you're not going to have near the headache. But yeah, I taught the shop some new words that day. Rowdy Roman clips. These are just little 3D printed clips. Rowdy Roman is an official third-party supplier of like accessories for Onefinity, so he's got these little clips where your water cooling lines just clip into. They're awesome. Cool connectors. So this specifically, these lines go into these little connectors that just snap in and out of the spindle. That's going to be really great for when I switch over to an ATC spindle, but it's also really good for just maintenance and stuff. They work really well. I've got no complaints with those at all. I've got the spindle itself running off of a 20 amp breaker, just dedicated purely for the spindle. Now, should you get a spindle or a Makita router? I have run over a year on a Makita router, and I have made tens of thousands of dollars off of that other machine. The Makita router is just fine. You do not need a spindle. There's a lot of advantages to having a spindle because I can program the RPM in the program as it's doing different tool paths and understanding what it needs to do and when. And it just automatically changes. If you have it in your budget to get a spindle, definitely get one, but you do not need one. That's like an additional, you know, a few $100s extra that you would be spending. So if it's not in your budget, don't get it. I'm a big believer in understanding why you actually need nicer or better or more powerful tools, and you don't really know why until you meet the limitations of where you're currently at. You can hook up a Makita router to this and it will turn on automatically just like this spindle will, but it will not change the RPM. For a lot of people, that's not going to matter at all. This system is set up where it is going to treat your Makita router as if it is a spindle, and that's really, really cool. The only thing, like I said, you're really missing out on is the horsepower to be able to take off deeper cuts, but also changing your RPM on the fly and not having to worry about that. It's been a big mindset change jumping to this machine because I'm no longer messing around with the router I didn't realize how big of an issue that really was for me, and how much time I was spending with the router, but if it's not in your budget, it doesn't matter. Masso versus the Buildbotics controllers. That is the biggest difference with these machines. Yes, it is bigger, it is beefier in every single way, but the brains in the machine is going to be the biggest thing and the biggest difference. Then really thing that I miss about the Buildbotics is being able to use my Xbox controller. That was really nice. I think a lot of people out there are gonna be like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, but sheesh, that was nice. I really, really enjoyed it. The touchscreen on this is incredibly responsive, and I use it to dial things in exactly where you're going. Now, when you're moving around the machine, when you're jogging the machine, you can use continuous and you can use step mode. So step means you're pressing the button and it only moves one step in an increment that you choose. Or you can press continuous and you hold down the button and it's continuously going to move based on the percentage of the feed rate that you choose. That sounds a little bit confusing, but it's really not. All of it's incredibly intuitive. And when I first saw the machine, that screen, I got very intimidated, but it's really easy to use. Way so more than the Buildbotics controller. I think it's a whole lot better. When I look at what happened and why Onefinity came out with that machine originally, is they saw all the machines on the market, they saw their shortcomings, and then they made that machine. I think this machine is based off of, they put that machine on the market, they saw all the shortcomings, and they made this machine. So for, I think it's only like $1,000 extra on top of that one to get this one. I think it's a no-brainer, but I'll go into all that a little bit later as well. Just so you know, I make no money if you buy this machine. I'm not financially motivated for you to buy it whatsoever. I 100% don't care if you buy a Onefinity machine at all. I was just in your shoes 2 years ago trying to figure out the best machine on the market because I wanted to use it to make money. If you're not using it to make money and you're just wanting to tinker around with stuff and have a hobby, heck yeah, I think either one of these machines are going to serve you really, really well. I think this one will serve you better, but I think that machine is incredible. I'm not getting rid of it. Now I've got two in my shop, and I love both of them equally. I haven't used the probe yet with this machine, so I don't really have too much to say about that. I know that the sequence is a little bit different. I know that you've got to do X and Y together. You can do that a little bit strange, and then you got to do Z individually. So I recently had some British people over in the shop, and they just did things with paper and moving them around and setting their zeros. So that's what I'm trying on this machine. I'm trying to beat the British. And as of right now, it's been working out really well, except for one time where I almost broke a Genie bit because I set up my zero wrong and I hit a screw. Well, I actually did break a Genie bit, yeah. I hit a screw. And then another time, I didn't have the power running to my spindle, and I started the program, and it didn't break the bit, but you can see, whew, it almost did. Okay, so what is the difference between closed and open loop stepper motors? Now, instead of for me trying to explain that, let me just show you. I'm going to force the machine to miss a step. I'm going to do a full depth of cut of 1 inch at 550 inches per minute with an RPM of 24,000. And I'm going to force the machine to miss a step. It does right here, and honestly, I don't know if it is the spindle that isn't able to really like cut through the material, or if it's the machine not being able to push the spindle through the material. I personally think it's the spindle, but let me know what you think down in the comments. As you can see right here, I'm starting the program, running away. Spindle automatically turns on 24,000 RPM. The controller allows the spindle 6 seconds to go into full speed. You can change that. I'll show you how to in a little while. The program starts, it ramps down into the material, so it stair steps down so it doesn't break the bit. Full depth of cut at 1 inch. It starts cutting, the machine realizes that it's taking off more than it can chew, and it senses that it missteps. That means the controller knows what it was told to do, and it knows that it didn't do that thing. The program stops, it turns off the spindle, and then the spindle takes a few seconds to fully turn off itself. The machine is understanding what's going on. So in an open loop stepper, you just imagine like back in like, I don't know, the World Wars when they used homing pigeons to carry messages across different camps and stuff. Those homing pigeons had a message. They sent that, and they hoped that it made it where it was supposed to. They don't know what that homing pigeon did in the middle. They didn't know if it got shot and wasn't working anymore. They were fully thinking that they sent the message that they needed to send. Nowadays, we have drones with GPS, which we have full communication back and forth to the controller, to the actual message that is being sent out to the drone. So I think that's a very stupid way of explaining the open loop versus the closed loop. Closed loop's better in a lot of ways. You can also adjust the feeds and speeds while the program is running. So here's a program that's running where I'm taking a 1/4 inch cut at 550 inches per minute at 24,000 RPM just to show that it can do it. Now, in order to show you how the feeds and speeds are adjusted on the fly, I'm going to run that exact same program just up in the air, so not in material, just to show you so I'm not breaking a bit while I'm worrying about that. As you can see here, right next to the G-code button on the screen where your program is actually running, it's got an overrides feature. So you can click that and you can jump in. It's going to show your feeds and your speeds. Now, your feeds, the actual feed rate of the machine can go from 0 to 100, which means that it can't go faster than you've programmed it to go in your machine. So it's programmed at 550 inches per minute, and it cannot go faster than that with this feature, but it can go a whole lot slower. Now the actual RPMs can be changed up an additional 50%. So I've got it set on 24,000. That's the fastest that the spindle can go, but you can go down. So if I would have had it set in the program at 18,000 RPM, I definitely could boost it up to 24,000. Why is this feature important? So for me specifically, one thing that's always really annoyed me about the old machine is that I can never really dial in the profile cuts to what I wanted them to be. Profile cutting is very loud, it's super annoying, and I never really got my feeds and speeds down to where I wanted them because I'm constantly walking back and forth to my shop trying to make the program a little bit better every single time. This way, I can spend 30 minutes, I can set up a file with everything as fast as it'll go, and I can slowly bring things down. I haven't done that yet, but I'm totally going to, and then I'll post what I find about my best version of what that profiling is going to look like. A lot of people want to know about the Onefinity table. So the table that I'm currently sitting on, the fixed leg version for the Foreman. Does it shake? Yes. Yes, it does. I'm not annoyed as much that it shakes. I'm annoyed that it shakes to the point where people who don't know about a Onefinity product are going to see that, and it's going to directly reflect on the build quality of the machine itself rather than the table. So yeah, the table, it does shake, but the entire machine is shaking together. I've done a ton of carves on this so far, and I haven't had any kind of accuracy problems whatsoever. My main annoyance comes from when I'm filming, because when I'm filming, the piece is moving around, especially when it's like doing a lot of movements with the machine. The piece is moving around. My camera is not moving with the machine. And I think that that's incredibly annoying because for my YouTube channel, I need to be able to show the content as well as I can. Now, I wasn't just going to like breeze past that and not mention it, because eventually y'all are going to see this machine is going to have like a ton of lag bolts in it with big pieces of wood to sure it up and everything, which is a little bit annoying. I am almost positive that they're going to fix that in the future. I haven't really talked to them too much about it because the truth is, like, it was a breeze to set up. I think it's cheaper than a Craig table. You can check out Two Moose Designs video. He shored his thing up with like plywood panels, and there's still a little bit of movement to it. The nice part about my old setup is it's set up like it's screwed to the wall into like a huge cabinet that's mounted on concrete. It's not moving at all. It's rock solid. And this thing, at first when I saw it, I was like, hey guys, can I actually like get on top of that? And they're like, oh yeah, we do it all the time. It doesn't look like it's as strong as it is, and it's completely strong, but unfortunately, it wiggles. Super annoying. Since we're talking about the table for a second, let's go ahead and talk about why I put just a big old sheet of MDF on here instead of having the T-tracks. I don't like the T-tracks. I don't like T-tracks in general. I think it's going to be awesome for beginners so they understand what they do and don't want. But the truth is, I understand what I want. I do a lot of batching with these machines in hardwood, and I know exactly where I'm putting screws in. So I'm very used to running up the very ends of this MDF and really like causing it to wear out very quickly. So I made these little clamps. These are just pieces of metal with tap screws in them so that I can use bolts and I can easily secure and repeatably secure wood to this table. I know that this is not going to be what 99% of CNC users ever would use, but for me, this is something that I'm going to be using on a daily basis. So I had these custom made just for myself. I'm not selling these things. If for some reason people really want them, I'll put up a listing, but the truth is, like, I made them for myself. I spent a few $100s like doing this. I've been prototyping like crazy. There's no reason why there should be two different sizes of these at all. I've just really wanted to dial in it specifically for me because I use these machines in my shop on a daily basis. So that's what those are, if anybody's wondering. And if for some reason they are not working the way that they should be, you'll see in my future videos as they change because, like I said, this is for me. Dust collection, mine will be up soon. You absolutely need dust collection on your CNC. If you don't have dust collection, you're gonna have a bad time. I'll have a whole video on that in a few weeks where I'm gonna be doing a dust boot shootout as well. And luckily, I've got the 80mm machine as well as a 65mm when it comes to the spindle and router and everything. So if you yourself out there make a dust boot and you're watching this, please send it over. The address will be down in the description below because I'd love to feature that in the dust boot shootout. Like I said, it'll be coming in a few weeks. So if you want to do that, go ahead and send it over. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about things that I immediately changed about the machine. And as a preface to this, this is not supported by Onefinity. If your homing sequence is off and you call Onefinity and you're like, oh man, things are all wrong, they're going to be like, did you watch Hamilton's video? Did you change your speeds? And you're going to be like, ugh, and they're going to be like, yeah, change those back and it'll work fine. That being said, I've done a lot of trial and error with the feed rate on this machine. It comes standard at 400 inches per minute across the board. That is your X, that is your Y, that is your Z. I'm not messing with the Z because this thing is already twice as fast as the other one for the X50 systems, and the Z slider is incredibly fast. Love it. But the X and the Y, were the jogging around is a little bit slower than I wanted, so I changed that from 400 to 600 inches per minute. On both the X and Y, like I said, and I think that that's a great place. I ran those programs at 550 inches per minute just to kind of see if it would. I don't think that's something I'm going to be doing on a regular basis, but I'd like to know that if I did set it in my system, that the machine's automatically going to understand that and it's going to do it. The really nice part about this controller is that you can just do that kind of stuff. Here, I put it to 1,500 inches per minute just to see what would happen, and it didn't break. You know, it did the things. I don't think that it's at a reliable place where you would want to run your machine that fast, but it can, which is really, really cool. So people want to know the time commitment to understand how to use this machine. Time commitment to understand how to actually like work it, I'll probably like give it a few days. I mean, like maybe like 20 hours tops of actually using the machine. Where your learning curve is going to be involved with CNC work is going to be in your software. I personally use Carveco Maker Plus. It's a really awesome software and there's really awesome people behind the software as well. So if you're interested in that, you can check out my links down below. But other than that, I mean, like, it's not a ton of work understanding like what you should be doing with your machine. It's more along the lines of like, what do you want to do with your machine? Are you somebody who's going to be selling stuff like me? Or are you somebody who is just going to be tinkering around? Or are you looking just to make like some cool signs and stuff for family and friends? If you get it and you just like pour yourself into this machine for the first week that you have it, you're going to intimately know the machine a whole lot faster. Are the Elite machines priced too high? I personally think they're not. I personally think that they're not charging enough for it. I haven't talked to Onefinity about sharing this information, so I'm not going to share exact numbers, but the reason that they're so far behind on their shipping times is like some of y'all might think like, oh, they might have sold like 100 or maybe like a few hundred. Go up from there. They sold a lot of these things. So that's why it's taking a little bit longer for them to actually ship these things out, because they sold a lot more than they originally anticipated they were going to be selling. So for the people out there who think that it is priced too high, data shows that it's not. But, you know, everybody has a different version of what expensive is. So I asked Facebook if they had like some questions about the machines. I'm just gonna run through a few of those right now. Is it loud? Yes, it is a CNC router. CNC routers are super freaking annoyingly loud. But the movement itself is much quieter than the X50 version. I will definitely say that. Fourth axis, question mark? Onefinity does not have a plug and play, but the Masso is set up where integrating a fourth axis into this should be simple enough. Somebody eventually, I'm sure, is furiously working on it right now to make sure they're the first person with the video out of it running and everything. No, I don't think that's going to be too big of an issue at all. Wirelessly upload files. Yes, you can through this thing called Masso Link. You have to have a USB plugged into the machine as that's happening. I don't have Wi-Fi in my barn, so I don't know anything about that. Cable management. Screwing attachment points underneath the machine was really helpful for me, but once again, Velcro zip ties, I'll have those linked down below. I have them all over the machine. I love them. You should totally be getting Velcro zip ties. The Masso shell open? That was a question. The Masso shell open? There you go. I don't know what any of that is. I don't know if I'm supposed to or not supposed to be showing you this or not, but there it is. A bunch of wires. A lot of people really want to know when it's going to be available where they can upgrade their current machines to the Elite series. Now, that upgrade is going to be, I'm sure, a lot more complicated than what I'm about to say, but essentially you would need the new controller, so the Masso itself, and then you would need new stepper motors. On Masso's website to buy the actual stepper motors as well as the controller, that's like close to $2,000. So take that the way you want, but it's going to be an expensive upgrade, and they are sharing no information on when that would happen. I know right now they are just trying to get the machines that they've sold out the door, and that's their main focus. So I would assume there will be word on that like later this year, but I don't know. I don't work for Onefinity, but I do know that a ton of people are really chomping at the bits to upgrade their current Onefinity machines to this brain and, you know, motors and stuff, which I would be too if I was in that place, but I don't know when that is going to happen. In the past, it's been like, swap out your rail and things are better now. This is a lot more involved. 3D carving, question mark? It'll do it. I haven't. I know that the new Beefy Z slider that's standard on this is meant for that. It moves a lot faster up and down, so for your 3D carvings, you will see a significant time difference and time savings with this Z slider. Rigidity? Question mark? Well, I'm sitting on it and it seems to be working fine. I honestly was wondering if it was going to set off the little like sensors or whatever, but it seems just to be doing its own little thing. Do you need the Stiffy? So the Stiffy is this third rail up on top. I would say no, unless you're planning on shooting a YouTube video and sitting on your machine, or you're planning on putting a lot of stuff on here. Now you might say, Hamilton, what else would you put on there? That seems to be the most stuff that you would. Well, the Masso's set up where you could like, I don't know, zip tie a plasma torch to the very front of it and use this as a plasma table. There's a lot of different things that you can do with this machine. Like, I know Onefinity's little slogan is like infinite possibilities. This really is. Like, there's a lot of stuff that people are going to be making with this. So if you plan on putting a bunch of stuff and supporting a bunch of stuff on your Z, I don't know, maybe the Stiffy's worth it. I know that people who ordered it day one got it for free. Or like a certain number of them, because like I said, they sold way more than they thought they were going to. I don't see any reason not to. I think you're going to be perfectly fine without it. How many stickers can you fit on it? So I've got to say something about that. At Workbench Con, it was awesome. I met so many people. It was such a great time. And people with channels that are infinitely larger than mine, I was able just to like be around and have conversations. It was a ton of fun. But with that, I was telling people to put their stickers all over it, and I've just got to say, Brad, it fixed this, build that. I am so sorry. I saw you put your sticker there. I even told you, you know where I'm going to be filming, and you put your sticker there. And as I was reviewing footage for this video, I realized that it just looks like I'm stealing footage from you, and that's like the place that I shoot a whole lot of stuff. So I'm so sorry. I had to move your sticker. You're now down on the leg next to Kamani and Paul. It's a great spot, but I had to switch out your sticker with mine just so that people wouldn't think that I was stealing your footage, because you gotta admit, it looks like fix this, build that footage that I'm just stealing. To answer that question, it'll hold a lot of stickers. Biggest noticeable difference between this and the X50. So it is quieter, the movement feels bigger, it feels more high quality, and that's just because like all these rails are just so much bigger. Everything's bigger, so it just feels a lot more premium. I remember unboxing my X50 Journeyman and thinking like, whoa, this thing is really nice. It's very heavy, it's very solid. This I got like twice the impression from. It's not like it makes that one seem wimpy, but it kind of does a little bit. Main complaints with the previous model: dust, if you don't use dust collection, can get on your ball screw and it can stop it up. Fixing that is not a really big issue at all. I've gotten very good at it because I shoot a lot of footage without the dust collection going, just for my YouTube channel, which means that a lot of dust is getting on that ball screw and a lot of it's getting sucked up into the machine. Not actually sucked up, the ball screw is running over it and it's getting jammed up in there. But yeah, that's kind of my biggest complaint. I wish that there was some type of an accordion dust boot that would go over the entire thing, kind of like the Wazer like water jet machine, like those accordion dust boots. I hope that makes sense. But on the previous model, like the quirks of turning things on in a correct order was kind of annoying. Like the Buildbotics controller is fine. It's done everything that I've needed it to do, but it's definitely got its quirks. If you own one, you know that. And from the limited time that I've used this, the whole experience just seems a little bit more like pro and clean. The interface seems way more industrial rather than hobby, but it's done in a really nice way where everything's incredibly intuitive. So who's this machine for? Now this is where I'm gonna kind of go off on like my opinion on all this, and I know that it's gonna make some people upset, and I think that that's perfectly fine, but I do know that like having an opinion is a very important thing, because I do have one. As an individual who uses CNC machines, who wants them to be the best and most reliable tool in my shop, I have an opinion on if you should buy this or not. I personally think that you should, but I also don't know why anybody is buying anything else. Now, I know for the longest time, like Xcarve and Shapeoko were like the kings of hobby CNC area. Onefinity came along and, in my opinion, made a better product than them. Short and simple. Everybody has a whole lot of brand loyalty when it concerns things, and I completely understand, just like, DeWalt versus Milwaukee. At the end of the day, those people love those systems because they have purchased a lot of things and they're all proprietary batteries, and they're not going to switch because they already have all those things. When it comes to CNC machines, you've already spent thousands of dollars on a system, so why would you not be emotionally attached or believe in the system that you've already invested your time and money into? I completely understand that. But if anybody out there is brand new into CNC machining and they're trying to figure out what the best hobby level machine is, this is like tip top of hobby level. You're entering into a place where, like, putting this in your shop, you're not going to be getting a nicer machine as quickly. You're going to be looking at this, and once you can afford it, you'll be buying just another one of these. So let's just take, for example, the brand new Shapeoko machine. I have never used that. I am only going on what I've read online. But their machine, it tops out at less than 200 inches per minute, which is less than half of what this thing is set to run at. If you press them, they will actually change the machine and go up as high as 275 inches per minute, but they will not go any higher of that due to safety concerns. This, like I said, I changed it to 1,500 inches per minute, which is what, like 6 times more than that? And no, I wouldn't use it on that speed, but it'll go there. Like, if you want a machine that you can control, that you can change things, that you can make it what you need it to be, this is the machine to buy. I think their whole thing over at Shapeoko is like the most complete and the cheapest thing around. So like, if you want the least expensive machine, yeah, buy a Shapeoko. If you want the best, most reliable machine for your shop, buy Onefinity. I personally believe that. Now, like I said, I just made a lot of people mad, and I'd love to say, if there's somebody out there who genuinely believes that their machine is better than this, I have zero brand loyalty. I love the guys over at Onefinity, and I would be like, hey, I've got, this machine showing up to my shop, and I personally think it's better than you. And they're gonna be like, okay, tell us why. We'll figure it out, we'll make another machine. They are just constantly improving their system. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of other machine manufacturers have just gotten very comfortable in their space. Onefinity is constantly improving what they're doing. So I really mean that. If anybody else has a machine out there that they genuinely think is better than this, send it to me. I'd love to review it. I would love just to see if it exists, because personally right now, today, I do not think it exists. Like I said, I know I just made a bunch of people mad. That's perfectly fine, but that's just my opinion. I'm wearing a Shaper shirt right now. I don't even own a Shaper. I met Sean from Shaper and he gave me a shirt and I said, haha, I'm gonna wear this during my Onefinity reveal thing, and he just laughed too, and he was a super nice guy. So the great part about some of these companies are just super chill. They just wanna know if their product works and if the people are enjoying it. And if they're not enjoying it, how can we change it to make things easier for the consumer and more enjoyable as the process goes on overall. So yeah. That's my opinion when it concerns the CNC companies. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Go ahead and buy a CNC machine. It will change your life. It doesn't matter if it's a Onefinity or a Shapeoko or an Xcarve or a Bob CNC or a Laguna or an Avid or a Phantom. It doesn't matter. Go ahead, buy yourself a CNC, and you'll understand very quickly how many possibilities will just be unlocked immediately for your wood shop. Just 2 years ago, I was doing all the same research that you are right now, and I ended up with the Onefinity X50. I bought that machine with my own money, and I ran that machine into the ground, and it's still working really, really well a year and a half later. Earlier, when you saw that mistake that I made, This is a beta machine. That means that it's got little quirks and features that your finished machine ordered that is showing up to your house is not going to have. My Z slider had a feature where when the power turned off, it drops, and that caused an issue in that carve. Yours isn't going to do that. I absolutely love working with CNC machines. I think that they are the future. I think that if you're considering getting one and it's in your budget, you totally should do that. Okay, so if you've been around the channel at all, you know this is when I go over how long that it actually took me to make this YouTube video. So if you're interested in the YouTube side of things, I am adding up every single video at the very end of the year and figure out my hourly rate when it concerns Google AdSense. I'm also going to start including how many subscribers I had at the time of posting each of the videos, because it's been really great seeing the channel and how much it's grown this year so far. I don't know if that's going to plummet or if I'm going to mess anything up, but at this point I'm really enjoying the ride and I'm very glad that y'all are showing up to watch my videos. If you're a regular viewer of the channel and you're not subscribed, I would definitely appreciate that, because my goal is to hit 1 billion subscribers by the end of the year. First YouTuber with 1 billion subscribers. Hamilton Dilbeck. Thanks. See y'all later.